We're here at the 2020 MAP exhibition at the Peoria Art Guild. It's a program that we had, Mentor Arts program, and it has to do with junior and senior high school students who have worked with mentors throughout this very long semester due to COVID. It's sponsored by PNC, who has helped us secure the funds that we need so that we can get artists to work with our students. They can go to studio visits and really prepare a portfolio for when they graduate from high school and enter hopefully into an arts career. We're going to start, and I'm just going to go through slightly. Each of the individuals worked all semester with the mentors, and then in July that they worked on a special project for at least 1 week. It actually took a couple of weeks for most of them to create a work that best exemplified their experiences here in at the Art Guild. This one is a wonderful print by Cello Gribby, and her mentor was Alex Carmona, who had done a relief print with each of the students. And the wonderful thing about this, I think, is that it's very linear. It's a lot like Matisse, where you just use the line to get very fluid. But in the middle of all this, you have a lot of geometry. You have the square, you have the triangle, you have the circle here that really helps break up a very flat surface and engage the artist and the viewer a lot more. Our next one is Steph Van Doren did a series of personal drawings or self-portraits. And Kat Blackburn has taken our challenge to work large, and she did these wonderful large drawings that were just basically from her own mind's eye. She didn't have someone sitting and posing for her. This is a charcoal drawing that she did. Much like Chuck Close, she's made it larger than life, but she also has made it it's really interesting. And some things, and our mentor artists really promoted the idea that sometimes things happen for a reason. She had pasted this large piece of paper on a wall down in the drawing studio, and she started to draw. And you can see the texture is from the wall itself. And then she has these wonderful fluid motions that really give this individual a lot of character, and yet very, very emotional. He's staring right at us, and she did a series of these. And again, our students learn from artists that sometimes we have to curate the exhibition, and we have to curate our own work. And she did a series of 5 or 6 of these drawings, and we've chosen 2 to be exhibited in the work. This is a studio gallery wall of work by the mentor, Julie Dodge, who's a photographer in Peoria. She does these incredible photographs based on using her iPhone. The students have gone throughout the community and taken pictures, and most of them are relatively about narratives. You can see that there's obviously the life on the river. There's Colin has created 2 where his friend was at a bonfire and he thought he'd take pictures with the backlit. We also have some wonderful ideas about changing and altering the viewer's view of, here's the clock tower. They were down at the riverfront market, and here we have a picture from that experience. Jocelyn chose Steph Van Doren, who did do the teaching, also had an exhibit here that was very successful. And she uses nature and photography to create her works. And Steph really influenced Jocelyn here, where she's created this grid of work. And if you see, they all kind of blend together. They run from one edge to the other. And it's very much about nature, and it's very much about form rather than detail. As you could see in Kat's drawings, there's a lot of detail. This piece here, the Madman, is actually a piece by Colin Wilkins, and Colin has been very, very interested in using stenciling and screen printing and all those sort of printmaking techniques. And here he has the rat race and Madman, if you remember the Madman series. It is a mad race. And then we have also these skulls here. I just have to say that Colin kind of challenged Jeff and I from the minute he was presented his portfolio to be in the program. He had a "Hello, my name is" stickers, and he had screen printed Snoop Dogg's head on each one of them. So he's very much like Andy Warhol, where he's just going to use printmaking and make art out of simple but very recognizable images. The students had an opportunity to go work with Jeremy Draper at Draper Glass. She was the mentor that we had to take the students off campus, so to speak, and out of our studios here at the Guild to her studio. And this is one of the most amazing experiences that our students were able to have. And they each got to blow a globe with the direction and the guidance of the mentor, Jeremy. And it really was remarkable. One of the things I really want to stress is that what we're trying to do at the Art Guild is to present something that would be an opportunity they would never have in like public education or even a parochial school. That the opportunity to blow glass is so unique and so wonderful. And Jeremy was the perfect mentor for them. She really was inspiring. We have here Laura Fang's work. My brother and I had introduced them to sculpture, and we introduced them to a lot of different people. Laura took this to the nth degree. She used very common objects. We actually had some of the insulation foam board here, and so she created all of this out of foam board, and it creates an environment. It's a conceptual environmental piece, and you'll see that in here she's got so many things happening. She has this wonderful bench with this kind of Magritte idea of a split figure here. The figures are also over here. And then she's taken natural elements and created things. We have this wonderful table-like platform. And Jeff and I, it kind of reminds us of the High Line in New York, which is a wonderful park space that artists exhibit in all the time. And she's incorporated that so well with this standing independently. I know that the book paper, that if you look at here, it has Chinese caricatures on it, characters, and this was a book from her mother. When we had introduced sculpture, one of the things that I had introduced was a wonderful artist that I know, Leonardo Drew, and he does a lot of meticulous work, and he puts together fine pieces of wood. And here she's taken and created shapes and just that project out from the wall, and it just gives a wonderful idea. She also incorporated these just loose little things like this swing here. She has just poles, so they're propped up here. It's really such a mature work for a high school student, and I think that she'll be able to understand and really, when she gets to school, to even explore architecture and the elements of architecture that can be used in art. We also have Cat Blackburn's sculpture here, which was originally what Jeff and I had proposed for them to do, and that is to create a Dubuffet type. Dubuffet is a character artist who is very, very naive and almost innocent in his approach to doing it. Here we have almost like a spider with these legs that are here, but we have this propped up portion, and then we have this wonderful hanging circle that becomes a three-dimensional piece because she has two circles intersecting like that. The other thing that was so wonderful for these students is that when they worked large or when they were working like this, that things happen. And she had a difficult time keeping this propped up so that this could float. And she took it home and she realized that if she braced the corners here, this just the smallest engineering technique could create it so that it stood on its own. And it really did well. Here we have again two printmakers. We have Meredith's pomegranates here that is actually a monotype because she's printed the pomegranates and then she's gone back in and drawn some details to it. Again, Colin every time where he created this work. We actually talked to him a little bit about Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol, of course, is most famous for having done the Campbell soup cans and Marilyn Monroe and things like that. But I was telling him that Andy Warhol did actually wallpaper. And in this case, he brought it in and he says, I did wrapping paper. And so we have this wonderful, actually kind of very mature pattern that he's created here, and he's wrapped it here, and then we presented it just a little bit so that instead of it just being a box sitting there, that we have it tilted a little bit and it becomes more of an important artistic object than just something sitting on the pedestal here. But it also is also reminiscent of a man named Christo who has wrapped things. He's probably most famous for wrapping packages and wrapping buildings. He's done the Reichstag, he's done the Chicago Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago. He also just took objects and wrapped them. And the idea was that you see these things and what is inside or what isn't inside. And so it challenges you to think and kind of imagine other things. We have another one of Kat's wonderful large drawings here. It's really remarkable. Again, and she tends to do the male figure most often, and they're just so compelling, and they're staring directly at you. And like I said, Chuck Close is hopefully a person that she will look at, an artist that she will look at, because they're monumental in that regard.
And this one also has the bricks where she
Yes,
was
bricks,
on
and
the
you
brick
can see
wall, so that gives it a
that she's managed to take in. We're going to come over here to some watercolor. It's actually batik watercolor. So they were using wax and watercolor to create these. Sharon Summers was their mentor for this one. And they took, some of them became very much a narrative thing. Here we have a figure in the woods. We have a Georgia O'Keeffe's inspired piece where we have flowers as well as a skull. We have an eye. But it's, again, and it's, I don't know if these are eyelashes or some kind of organic form like trees or something like that. We have a wonderful situation here where we have 3 chairs that are very inviting to us. It's sort of like Van Gogh or somebody like that, where, you know what, they use the Japanese idea of if we have something that goes off of the edge of the canvas or the paper, that it brings us in. And we have this very inviting thing, have wonderful flowers here. The kids really did a great job here. We're going to go here to Cello's large piece of fabric art, of fiber art. And Jenny Hawkey was the inspiration and the mentor for fiber arts. And here we have a wonderful figure where we have this woman, and you can see that everything is stitched. So she's using yarn and thread instead of a pencil to do her drawing, her linear part. And then she's gone back in and she's stained the different colors, and she's got ribbon here. And it's just really, it's a nice piece. The material that she used was actually from a painting project that we did that we'll see later that Heather Grameyer had brought to her. And so again, we just keep recirculating and we get inspiration to do things that we're using canvas, but it's not a painting of the traditional sense. Here we have RJ's sculpture, and this is one that Jeff and I had introduced her to Dubuffet, and Dubuffet has a wonderful piece up, especially up in Chicago in front of the Illinois Center, the Thompson Center, I should say, and he uses just a polyurethane kind of material. In this case, we use the insulation board, and she's taken it very much into the 21st century. Instead of using paint, this is all constructed with duct tape. And so we have the white and black duct tape. It's very, very comical, as in a comic. And it also is it's very bold and graphic, and I think it works so well, so very, very well in this, and that we have a very strong sculpture also because Rodin said that, you know, the best sculptures are ones that don't have a front or a back. And that's true in this case. You walk around it and you're very, very much inspired to kind of see what it is. If you look from a distance at it, it almost looks like it could be a figure with a very long neck and wearing a hat, whatever. We have here our ceramics, and our ceramic was taught by our own instructor here, Tyler Brandon. And here we have mostly functional pieces. We've had numerous classes where they learned to use the wheel to construct as well as hand-thrown things. You can see there's some wonderful gestural work that was done here. And then over here we have a tribute to Michelangelo with the hand of God and Adam touching, which is really quite wonderful.
They did such a good job with the glazes.
They did the glazing, you know, which takes time. And one of the things that we have, because of COVID, our students weren't able to come to the studios for much of March and April. And so when they did return, we really didn't have time, because I was really encouraging them to work very, very large with the clay and create something that would be quite memorable just by size alone. Here we have cat blackburns for prints. This is a set of monoprints, and they're monoprints because it's the same image, but it's done differently, meaning that she's done a blend roll here. This one is just pink and or red, and this one's blue, and then we have another red bowl, but it's the same image. It happens to be, again, a rat, and I don't know why that seemed here, but we have a rat here that is backed up against this wonderful with these flowers and all of that. It just really shows you that just the smallest change, like in color, can give a different personality to the same image over and over again. We have mirrored this piece here, and again, this is a mixed media piece. Heather Brammeyer was the mentor when we did painting, and what she's done is she's created this portrait of her sister, and she's just gone, it's got glitter, it's got ribbons, it's got material, it's got gouache and paint, and there's some extra, there's graphite here. Then the other thing that she did is, and you can't really see probably from there on, but she's used vellum, and so she has vellum over it. So there's a lot of different texture. There's a lot of different clarity. Sometimes the lines are very strong, and sometimes they're very muted because she's placed the vellum over them. But it's really it's a fun piece. And her uncle came, and he recognized immediately that it was her sister, so she did what she did. Here's our please do not touch part of our exhibit. This is by RJ, and RJ has taken a chair, and I don't know if you can really see it, but it has shards of glass built up. And a lot of times, this is kind of the irony. Jeff and I have in our collection a Man Ray piece of art, and he's taken an iron and he put blue tacks on it. So the irony, of course, was that if you're using an iron, you couldn't have tacks because it would rip up your clothing. In this case, obviously, it'd be a very uncomfortable seat, but the chair is painted so well. It's very inviting. It's kind of graphic, and it's a lot of fun. But artists do that a lot of times. They use the irony and contrast to do it. Again, Collins got the idea that we can use things over and over and make them very much different. Here we have a print, just simply Madman with using the stencils and the words, and here we have a complete print that is just about printmaking. It's not on canvas, it's not anything but that. And I think that that's something that we can do all the time. We can look around us and find inspiration from the simplest things. One of our favorite projects that we did was with Heather Brammeyer, and this is an installation of all of the panels that they worked on. These were 5'6" sections of canvas, and they stained them and they painted them and they made them all unique. But they looked at an artist, his name is Sam Gilliam, and Sam Gilliam would do the same thing. He would lay out long pieces of canvas and he would stain them and paint them, and then he would drape them. And again, the folds become a very pivotal part of and the important part of this painting, because instead of being stretched and being very flat, instead we've got these folds, so it's undulating in and out. We have these wonderful shadows that we can see that are cast by the folds, and also the fact that when we were installing it, that we didn't hang it just flat against the wall, we brought it out so they go in and out and become more of a three-dimensional painting without having it actually be a top, a bottom, a sides like that. This is one of my favorite pieces. It turned out so well.
It's very vibrant.
And it's interesting because it's all unique pieces. Each one is a painting by a different artist, but then when we join them together, it kind of reads like a narrative and like a story. So this is one of my favorite pieces. This is this is one artist and it's one project for Carolyn Stepter. And we have this wonderful individual who's very, very contemplative. He's done in black and white. He has these wonderful shadows that are crossing into his face and his body here. And he's reflecting on different things, different elements in life, things that might be very beautiful, very tasty. And we have this wonderful egg. I think, again, our artists' mentors always talked about sometimes, the composition can be very important. And this is simply an egg, the eggshell with the egg. And it really is incredible. Instead of being just in the middle, it comes off the edge and it just brings us in here. So does this coffee sign, where we come in here and we don't even see the C, but we know it's coffee. And it really draws us in. We have a wonderful, just very almost linear photograph where we have this chain link, and she's got this detail, so it's intertwined. And we have nature, of course, which is always great. She has one colorful picture of a friend of hers that's a very, very much more uplifting than this one, where she's overlaid a skull mask on the individual. So her idea was photography. Again, Julie Dodge was the mentor for that, but then she's made it her own. We had Jackie Willis from Bradley University come in and do some three-dimensional metal work with them. And we did this tooling, basically. And I think it turned out really, really well. I will say that Jeff my brother had said that, I don't want you just to do an initial. I want you to make it, really invest in the pattern or into the image. And I certainly don't want any hearts. And so, of course, Colin Wilkins did an actual heart so that it would be great. But again, these are things that they probably don't get the opportunity to do. We didn't have the opportunity for them to visit the sculpture studio over at Bradley, but all of these students are really, it's been very, very, it's been an enriching experience so that they can take with them the skills and as well as the history that they have with all the mentors. This is the end of our tour. We hope that next year we will be starting it again. If any of you know any of the junior or seniors in high school in Central Illinois, that they can look on the Art Guild website and can get information for next year's.
Thank you, John. Well, a special thank you to you guys, because you have been instrumental in this program, so thank you so much.